Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and welcome to our Monday morning video. Today we are talking about fall festivals. So one of the things that always comes up at Halloween, during harvest festivals, is in general a lot of people get a lot of candy this time of the year. And so what do you do with all that candy? And in the Waldorf world, a lot of people will do either the sugar plum fairies, they come to visit, or the switch witch, which is, I think she's friends with the sugar plum fairies. So I don't know her quite as well, but I do know the sugar plum fairies. I have a little intel on the switch witch, so I will share what I know, and I will share also what I know about the sugar plum fairies. So, and sort of what we do with them and how they work with us, and then you can also decide if you would like them to ask, if you'd like to ask for them to come to see you. I think it's a pretty easy process to ask them to come and see you. I really think the children have to maybe write a note and leave it out for the sugar plum fairies. I'm not quite sure on the way the switch witch works with that. It's possible that maybe that's a Halloween evening note, but I know the sugar plum fairies like a little bit of notice so that they know to come to your house. So if the sugar plum fairies really resonates with you and they seem like somebody that you'd like to come visit you, I would craft a note today and sort of leave it out tonight for them to take, because I understand that the fairy realm, you know, visits us in the evening, and any fairies that come to your house tonight would see that you have a note for the sugar plum fairies and would make sure that it's delivered. So that's sort of what I know about the sugar plum fairies and sort of how we have worked with them in the past. So we invited the sugar plum fairies years ago when my older children were little. In fact, I was trying to think about this last night. When they first came, I actually think we just had Harry, and so that would have been when he was about 2, and they started visiting us at that point in time. I also know they're pretty good friends with St. Nicholas, so they often will pass notes back and forth to one another. Didn't know if you moms knew that, but that's definitely something that we've experienced, that we've been able to have the sugar plum fairies take St. Nicholas a note, like maybe with the children's wish lists on them. I know a lot of other children write to Santa Claus, but our children will write to St. Nicholas and leave it out for the sugar plum fairies, because then they will often deliver that note to St. Nicholas. So what we have typically done, and what the rules were for our sugar plum fairies, and I understand that all sugar plum fairies are different, and that sometimes they will have different rules. So our sugar plum fairies rule is you may eat 10 pieces of candy, or keep 10 pieces of candy. You don't have to eat it all at once. You may keep 10 pieces of candy, but then you have to put the rest out. And the sugar plum fairies know. Like one year, Harry tried to trick them, and he kept 15 pieces of candy, and they made him go on this major scavenger hunt before he got his prize from them. It was really funny, because after that he never tricked them again. I think he was about 7 or 8 years old the year that he did that. Maybe 7, it seems like 7. He was very much about tricking them, and how will they know if I eat, or if I take more candy. And so I said, well, I guess you'll find out. You know, you'll find out if maybe they knew that you had 15 pieces instead of 10, and they knew. So what we have done is we have generally we start collecting a bowl, because in our house, I don't know how it is with you, but one of the reasons why I'm maybe not so in love with Halloween is because it seems like the holiday that never really starts and never ends. Well, actually, I know it ends, but it just feels like it starts way too early, and then we have this minutia of costumes, and honestly, it's not that I dislike that part. I think I dislike the rushing part. And so we started last week with a church trunk or treat, and we started then with we're gathering the candy. And we do that. We gather all the candy from all of the festivities that are surrounding Halloween, because we want to be super honest with the sugar plum fairies, and not make them think that maybe we didn't go someplace, because like I said, they know, and we have had enough opportunities to trick them that that maybe it's not a good idea. So so we start gathering them then, and our agreement with the trick-or-treat last week was that they would eat 2 pieces, and then they, or keep 2 pieces, and then they would keep 8 from this week's activities. And we do also qualify, like what qualifies and what doesn't qualify. Like for instance, we have a harvest festival tomorrow with our co-op, and because I know that there will not be any contraband candy at that harvest festival, I generally don't make them, or don't ask them to give anything up for the Sugar Plum Fairies for that, just because usually it's like fruit snacks and stickers, and there might be an occasional sugar-free sucker in there, or some wrapped up cookies, but I generally don't say, hey, you should give that. So we started gathering. Actually, we have a bowl that we gather everything in. We gathered last week's haul, and then they'll gather anything that they get this week from any other parties that they go to. And then they'll take out, since they've already had 2, they'll take out 10 or 8 pieces, and then we'll go from there. And then they'll leave it out. And usually what happens, and like I said, I understand the Switch Witch is a bit different. Talked with a friend yesterday about the Switch Witch and how she works with them. So I'm going to give you her intel and sort of tell you how that works from what I understand. But what we do is we leave the bowl out for the Sugar Plum Fairies, and then she takes it. And I don't know if you read my email, because I don't have any idea what she does with it. I understand she builds her houses somehow with it, but I was sort of trying to imagine, like Kit Kat door frames, which maybe that works. I don't know how they deal with the ants in the forest, so maybe that's not a problem. Maybe the ants know not to eat that portion. Not quite sure. And maybe they don't live in a forested area at all. Maybe they live someplace where there are no ants and nothing could melt, like the chocolate doesn't melt. I don't know. I don't know the exact details. Maybe I will leave a note out and ask them. And it's very possible that they might also know Super Sam the Gnome. And so I might do some asking around there. So anyways, we leave it out. And then the Sugar Plum Fairies actually bring a gift in exchange for that. And so my children get really excited because they want to know what in the world that that the Sugar Plum Fairies might bring. So about August or so, I know the Sugar Plum Fairies start listening to children's wants and desires. And so we start to really think about it around their August, September timeframe. Except for we have an after Daddy's birthday rule. So we can't talk about Halloween until after September 15th. It's a good rule, trust me, it's a good rule. So, so really and truly, we set things out, and the Sugar Plum Fairies takes the candy and then leaves a gift. And like I said, one year Harry thought he would trick them, and they, instead of a gift, left him a scavenger hunt map, and it took him like all day to find this tiny trinket that they left him. And it was a tiny trinket because he tricked them. So it's very interesting to me how the Sugar Plum Fairies know, but they do. So I would sort of ask your fairies what their rules are and sort of how they work with that. Now, again, like I said, I talked to a friend yesterday about the Switch Witch, and she said that their Switch Witch exchanges candy for money, and the money they use to go towards a family project, or a family something that the whole family wants. And so they've been sort of saving up for something that the Switch Witch takes the candy and leaves money. So that's an interesting idea as well. Like I said, I don't think that would make us terminate our friendship with the Sugar Plum Fairies, because we've known them for so long and they're so reliable, to switch to the Switch Witch. So I think we'll just leave the Switch Witch to other friends, and we will be the ones to sort of do Sugar Plum Fairies in our house. Sent me a message, she's like, Mom, left my candy out. Sugar Plum Fairies did not come for me. I was like, oh, I don't think they knew that you moved. I don't think they knew that you were in Colorado. Maybe it was really cold, because I know sometimes in the mountain areas it's really cold. So, yeah, the next year they left something at my house, and we mailed it to him, just so that he was, covered and taken care of with that. But oddly, he got to keep his candy. I don't know if that's like a grown-up thing. You know, as a grown-up, I don't know if like when you're a grown-up, you leave it out and they just bring you a gift. Again, like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of the sugar plum fairies and how they 100% work, because that's like a magical realm thing, and the magical realm is sometimes just different, and they have different roles. So let's see, next, what was I thinking next? With regards to costumes, like people want to know, what are your kids going to be for Halloween? So I will tell you, Soraya has 2 separate costumes. Because we do not do character costumes at our co-op, I challenged them both to come up with something alternative for in case, because I knew that I knew what they both wanted to be, and then I said, okay, so their challenge is to come up with something else for our co-op that does not cost me a whole lot of money. And so Soraya, for Halloween, she's going to be an Ewok, which is really funny. And so we found this great Ewok hood at Disneyland. It's perfect. It's actually knitted, and it looks like it's made out of really not horrible material. I'm sure it's acrylic, but like the inside of the hood is lined, and she actually acts a little Ewok-ish, don't you think, dear? When she has it on, it's a little strange.
Yes.
Like she channels them. She's channeling Wicked. Warwick Davis is channeling through.
She tries to wear it every day.
She does. I had to tell her she cannot sleep in it because I had this like worry that it would like somehow shift from the face part to the back part, and then she'd have like some nightmare about being strangled. Anyway, so I'm like, nope, you can't wear that to bed. Sorry. So she's going to be an Ewok, and she actually found, she's got a pair of black pants, so all I had to buy for that was a black shirt, and I am crocheting her some little gauntlet paw thingies that I have to finish up today. So, and because she is my sensory child, no makeup. She does not want anything on her face. No little black nose, nothing. So I'm fine with that. Her co-op costume is something she came up entirely on her own with. I was so impressed with her. I have, and some of you have seen it, I knitted her the Milo sweater, last year, sweater vest. And I knitted it with rainbow yarn that we actually dyed during last year's knit along. And people have asked me, how's that washing up? How's it keeping? And I will tell you, it's washing up beautifully. The Kool-Aid dye takes so well to the yarn that it doesn't bleed. I have not had any of the colors bleed. And I haven't even, like when I put it in the sink, because it's wool, so when I put it in the sink to wash it, there's no bleeding in the sink. So the colors were very color fast, and it's been washed a few times. The lovely thing is when it's washed, it smells like Kool-Aid all over again. So it smells all candy-like in my kitchen when I wash it. But so she said, well, I have white pants and a white shirt, and have the rainbow sweater. I said, oh, are you going to be a rainbow? She said, no, I'm going to be a cloud. I was like, what? She's going to be a cloud. And she made cloud with a rainbow, and then she just got this plain blue hoodie. Thank you, Hannah Anderson. It's blue with nothing on it. And she's going to be a cloud in the sky and with a rainbow. So she said, I'm going to wear my hoodie zipped up, that I'm just the sky, and then I'm going to unzip it so everybody can see the rainbow. She's a really funny child. So that's her costume. Samuel would like to be Beryl from Nightmare Before Christmas. They are a little obsessed with that right now. And he's liked that movie for a while. And so he wants to be Beryl. So for co-op, he's just going to be a skeleton. But anyways, that's my kids' costumes. And I wanted to just sort of get that part out of the way and then sort of talk about what we do. Because we also, I was raised Catholic, and so we've always done like All Souls Day. But it folds in nicely with Dia de los Muertos. And we live about, I could sneeze and be at the border. So we have many Hispanic friends. We sort of live very, very much so in San Diego in a very blended culture. And I love that. I love that about where we are. And so we have a lot of friends that will be celebrating that. And we also, I wanted to understand more about it. And I have to say, and I know those of you who think that I'm crazy for liking Disney at all are going to click away, and I understand. But the Coco movie was done so well, so well, and it was so beautiful that if you want to understand more about Hispanic culture and about that holiday, I would definitely suggest that. I will have to tell you the funniest. We watched the movie. It's been about 6 months since we watched the movie. We got done, and Soraya says, "I just have one question." And I was like, "Okay." I was expecting it to be like this life-changing question. She goes, "Why are there no white people in Coco?" And I started laughing. I said, "Because this is about, it's about their culture." And she said, "No, like when they die on the other side." I said, "Well, they're just skeletons, so you don't know." So we sort of it opened the door to having a great cultural conversation about what different people believe and about what different people think what happens when you die. And so I thought that it was, even though I had to sort of laugh at first because, it's something that an adult would never say.
It's a good thing you didn't show her Beetlejuice instead.
Oh, yeah, that would have been bad. That would have been bad. Samuel's all into I want to know about this show, but no, not her. But no, oh my goodness. So I thought it was a great opportunity to really have this cultural discussion with her about how different cultures believe something different. Because it is a Catholic thing to do All Souls Day on November 1st. It blends very nicely and very well into the Dia de los Muertos celebration as well. And so, but I understand that's only something that happens in Mexico. From what I understand, from the little bit of research I've done, it's not something that happens, excuse me, all of South America or anything like that. So, but because that culture is very present where we live, I wanted her to know and understand. And so we had a really good talk about it. So I think that that's a really good way to be able to discuss things. And I want to say I would absolutely not, with a young child, bring up cultural appropriation. I would not. But she did say to me, "So, well, can we just honor our dead that way?" And I said, "Well, actually, let's talk about All Souls Day." So that was sort of our segue into having our conversation about why we put all of our loved ones that have passed. And I don't just do loved ones that have passed because I have a picture of Jacob on our space too, and she's like, "He's not dead." I said, No, I know, but he's not, doesn't live near us. So we put him there to remember him and to keep him in our hearts. And he's in our hearts all the time anyways, but it's really nice to sort of have him there pictured with all of our loved ones. So we have a space. And like I said, I would not have the cultural appropriation conversation, but I would have this is what they do. What can we do to really honor them the way they honor people from Mexico? So what we did was we talked about what were the favorite foods of some of our relatives, because that's what they do. They sort of bring the favorite foods to as an offering to this space where they usually, I think, from the cemetery. And I actually learned something interesting too. I have a dear friend who let me finish this sentence. Excuse me. I have a dear friend whose husband is one generation from Mexico, and she asked her mother-in-law, she said, "Why do you not have an ofrenda here? And look, why is it not something that is more prevalent here in your home in America?" And she said, basically it's space. So in Mexico, when the homes are built, they have a home built for the ofrenda. And so that is a space that's dedicated to that, and they don't have that here. So in this family in particular, they don't even, they might have a space where they have the pictures, but they don't have a dedicated ofrenda space just because there's no room. And that was a really great, it was a really good conversation for me, because I go, oh, well, if I went to another country, I would definitely take my culture with me, and they do, but that's just something that they don't bring because they have a dedicated space for that. And I know that that's probably different depending on the family. So anyways, like I said, it became a way for us to really discuss it as a family and talk about what we do. We also do All Souls, and like I said, we have this space where we have everybody's picture. And we sort of talked about, okay, well, what could we do? What were their favorite foods? I have no idea what my grandparents' favorite foods are. I know my grandpa loved Mexican food, so we'll probably eat that. Also know he loved burgers. We'll probably eat that. You can take it to wherever you want, and I just encourage you to come up with a tradition that feels right for you and feels good for you, and that feels like it's honoring your family and honoring sort of what you believe about people of past. So with regards to festivals, Waldorf festivals or otherwise, do not adopt something that you actually don't believe in, because your kids will know it's not authentic, and you will not feel it, and you won't keep up with it. So you want to adopt things only that feel really good to you, and that feel like, that you are bringing to your children what it is that they want or they need. To holidays. So the next one coming up is Martinmas. And like I said, don't adopt anything that you don't wholeheartedly believe in, or that you can't alter to make it so that you do believe in it. And Martinmas is definitely one of those things. So Martinmas sits opposite of Candlemas on the calendar. And Martinmas is the light going into the darkness, and Candlemas is light coming out of the darkness. So, and that's definitely for the Northern Hemisphere. It would be flipped otherwise. So what we are focusing on is, with Martinmas, it's this beautiful, there's a beautiful story. I mean, I think the story is really beautiful. Even if you're not a Christian, it's a beautiful story. However, I would encourage you, if that is not the direction you walk in, that you come up with some other story. There's so many beautiful stories in the Waldorf world about Martinmas, and you could definitely not do the legend of St. Martin. You could do something else. You could just do a beautiful lantern story, or come up with, like I said, something of your own. So we do both. So we will do the story of Martin, and then we will also talk about this sort of light going into the darkest part of the year for us. And the time's about to change, the clocks are about to change, and it's already super dark here by 4 to 5 o'clock. And so we already are seeing a lot of that. And so the idea of having a lantern, you can see all my lanterns here, and they're actually lit, but you cannot see all of them lit. But the idea of having this light that goes into the darkness, I think, is super important for kids, because the darkness can be a scary time. So, we often will talk about what things make us feel safe, and sometimes light makes us feel safe. And while in our home we focus on what the light is, you can talk about the light in the middle of the winter being the child of light. You can talk about being Christ. Talk about whatever feels comfortable for you and whatever will resonate with you, so that then you will want to continue with this festival later. You don't want it to be something that peters out after a year. So like I said, so that's coming, and it's the 11th of November. But I sort of think about festivals as a season. So if it happens on the 11th, great. If it doesn't happen until the 15th, that's fine too. I mean, I think that it really and truly, it's all about what your intent is and how you're feeling about things inside, and how excited you are about bringing this to your child. We have a lot of fun making lanterns. These are ones that we made about 2 years ago, and this one actually has a window star on it, and we just use kite paper. I use kite paper, and I watered down Elmer's. This one we actually used glitter glue. I'm going to tell you, it takes for a long time to dry, like days to dry. Only the glitter glue. There's something different in the glitter glue than the regular Elmer's. This one has a mushroom and a gnome on it, and I just printed them out off the printer in silhouettes, and then put them on here. And again, it's kite paper. Kite paper works really well. Tissue paper works really well. I actually think this pink one is tissue paper. And this one over here, of course, is a unicorn. But anyways, that would be what we would use. This year we're going to make paper lanterns again. We usually have made paper lanterns, but then we made these ones. They're so beautiful. But we're doing paper lanterns again with our co-op this year. We've done the balloon lanterns with the paper mache that are really fun. But I don't know how that works with wheat allergies. I know there's a lot of people in our co-op that have wheat allergies, so you're like, no, we're not going to do that, because they have a lovely week. And make it a week that you feel really good about. And remember that you're the driving force. Your intention is what drives everything today. So if you're in a great place, you're going to have a great day. If you're not in a great place, go find some chocolate, do something, raid that Halloween stash. Don't tell sugar plum fairies. get yourself in a good place, because it really is important that you are there and present for your children. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.